Talking about things like death and grief are honestly really difficult in this culture, but it impacts all of us. I mean, let's be honest, we don't get out of this life alive.
Nope.
So we really do need to talk about it more, which is why my friend Elizabeth Coplan is here. She is founder and curator of Grief Dialogues, and you're helping us have this conversation. You've been helping us have this conversation for a while. First, tell us about Grief Dialogues for those who don't know what it is.
Absolutely. Grief Dialogues is a nonprofit artistic movement, and we use art to start a new conversation around dying, death, and grief.
I love your motto, out of grief comes...
art.
That's right, yes. And what does that mean?
It means that one way to express grief is to do it through some art form. And it seems to be far more therapeutic than just about anything. I happen to write through my grief, but there are artists, there are songwriters, etc. So any form of art that you channel that grief through makes it so much easier for someone else to share and then respond with their own stories of grief and loss if you've just shared yours in some way, whether it's a sculpture or an essay.
Which leads us to Endgame and this film
Yes.
that you'll be screening here very soon in our area.
Right, right. Actually, I saw the Endgame in San Francisco back in December as part of the Endwell symposium. And I was so taken by the film that I wanted to bring it here to the Seattle area. It is streamable on Netflix, but what we're doing differently is we will screen the film, but we will have a panel speakers group from the likes of Professor Taryn Lindhorst, UW School of Social Work and Palliative Care. We have Carrie Hillwig, Virginia Mason. We have Maya Scott from Seattle Children's Hospital. We signed on Providence Hospice Network in order to be one of our sponsors as well. So we will talk about, not necessarily about how to navigate the medical system. At this point, what we're going to talk more about is how to get that community around you so that you can be empowered to talk to the medical profession, because let's face it, they don't always have the arc of humanity. But we're working on that too. That's another project I'll come back and tell you about. But these panelists are going to talk about ways community can help. Those panelists in their specific location and other resources that are out there.
Quick dates. There's one here in Seattle and one on Bainbridge Island.
On Bainbridge Island. The dates are May 28th, Tuesday, May 28th. It's going to be at UW Kane Hall. And on May 29th, Wednesday, it's going to be at the Bainbridge Island Museum of Art Auditorium.
And you need to make sure that you go to brownpaperticket.com and reserve your seats, even though it's free.
Even though it's free. It's totally free, but we have a maximum number of seats we can fill in both places, so please reserve seats. It's going to be well worth it.
And while we have you, I want to show off this because you have just written and published this new book. You said this is how your art form and the way that you talk about grief and death. Tell us about this new book.
This new book, it features 47 different authors and 61 different contributions around dying, death, and grief. I'm the one who brought it all together. There's several pieces in there from me, the introduction as well. I realized in writing my grief story, that was only one tiny story. And if I really wanted to share any kind of a grief journey, I need to bring others on board. And so that's what this book is about. And it has authors, predominantly a lot of authors on the Seattle area, but all over the country.
Fantastic. So, this is the kind of thing that really resonates really quickly, and we only have 30 seconds, but you started this kind of through theater as well. I was involved with your theater. Is that continuing?
That is continuing.
I mean, what kind of feedback are you getting with folks? Because you really are giving them accessible ways to get to grief.
Exactly, exactly. Well, we are going to be revising the play, Grief Dialogues, and I can't announce just yet, but I am talking with a major hospital here in the Seattle area about using the play to help physicians understand grief. I was told that there's like one class in medical school about dying. There are 0 classes about grief. And so we want to make it as accessible and understandable to the medical personnel as we do to the public.
Because as we said, as we go into this thing, nobody makes it out of this life alive.
Right.
We all got to talk about it. Elizabeth Coplan, thank you very much for being
here.
If you want more information, go to griefdialogues.com. All of the details about the book, the theater project, the film screening, all of it on the website.